exactly is sight reading? Sight reading is the ability to read music with the same fluency as if you were to pick up a book and read the passage from the book out loud. Now, learning to read music is just like learning to read a foreign language. The first step to doing so is, number one, to get comfortable with the musical alphabet within each clef. We're talking about the G clef and the F clef that we'll be primarily using in these lessons. So you really want to be comfortable with being able to read and identify what those notes actually are as close to on sight as possible. Now, another tip for sight reading is to learn to look at the edges of the music. In other words, look at the top notes and the bottom notes, the melody and the bass. Or in reverse, if the melody is written on the below the accompaniment, you want to be able to look at the outer edges, the very tops and the very bottoms of your music. Now, this course is designed to introduce basic chord patterns, the shapes of which you will eventually be able to recognize on sight with practice, just like you start to recognize words instead of having to spell them out letter by letter. Now, after you do this, then you'll be able to progress to more advanced permutations of those chord patterns. Now, the best way to learn to sight read is just like reading in a foreign language. Practice, practice, practice. Simply put, the more you read, the better you'll get. Now, you will eventually be able to recognize notes just by how they look on a given staff. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to work on horizontal mastery before vertical. What do I mean by that? Well, you're going to want to focus on being able to read on a melodic line, okay, primarily read through the melodic line, and then pick out the bass notes just as needed. One example may be to simply read the melody line and just play the first notes of the bass and the first notes of each measure just to start, or just the bottom of a given chord. So let me give you an example. Here is Green Sleeves. And if I'm reading this and I'm trying to sight read this for the first time and I'm getting kind of comfortable with my G clef notes and I'm kind of comfortable with my F clef notes, but maybe not as fluent, maybe what I would do is read it something like this. And just pick out the first note of the left hand and try to read the melody as fluidly as I can. All right? Now, let's show you another example. Let's say I have a whole bunch of chords, okay? Again, you can do the same kind of thing. Here's the Blue Danube. Instead of playing all the notes, I'm going to look at the outer notes. Instead of playing the full chord, just the top of the melody line. Okay? So that's what I mean by developing a good horizontal reading first, okay? And then as you are reading, you want to try to keep a steady speed and try not to double back, even if you're missing notes. Try to use, if you want for extra practice, try using a metronome at a very slow speed. And doing so can be a big help. The idea being that you're forcing yourself to go forward. And that's really the key thing to sight reading. Good sight reading doesn't double back after you miss a note. You just keep going forward and read as if you're reading out loud straight out of a book or a poem or a play. The more you can move forward instead of repeating yourself going back, the more fluid you'll become. And again, this is something that takes a long time to master. But if you're reading a little bit every day, you'll be able to master your musical library quite quickly, and eventually you will be able to sight read.